Hey everybody, welcome back. Icon here. Thank you so much for checking out another video. People have been saying in my comments, I've been seeing this a bunch. People want to know what my preseason ranks are. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put up what some other people have said, and then I'm going to say how mine might differ just a little bit based on the scrims that I've watched and the streams that I've been tuning into. So here on screen, I'm going to throw up the CDL Intel preseason ranks. So these are the power ranks, and these are based on what players and teams have said. So if we go through this, the first three, of course, I think those are pretty locked in. I'm not necessarily sure about the order, and we'll talk about that in a second, but essentially everybody is kind of agreeing that those top three teams are where they're at, and then everybody comes after that. In terms of their rankings, they've had FaZe at 1, Empire at 2, and Huntsman at 3. After that, Rocker at 4, Subliners at 5, Surge at 6, Mutineers at 7. Then Optic, and this might be a little bit of a surprise, Optic Gaming LA is all the way down to 8th. London is at 9th. Toronto is at 10th. Then LA Gorillas is at 11th, and the Paris Legion is at 12th. So just by a first glimpse at this, if I were to go ahead and talk about these, the thing that I would say first is that I think that there are kind of groupings here. So I don't necessarily feel comfortable with going through and ranking 1 through 12 just because a lot of these teams we haven't seen yet, and we definitely haven't seen anything from Search, and we don't know how they're going to perform on LAN. So those 2 points alone could bring out a lot of change in these rankings. So I don't want to go ahead and say this team is 6th and this team is 8th because we haven't really seen them play all of the game modes yet. But with that said, absolutely, in my mind, Atlanta FaZe is 1. I just saw something the other day that they went on like a 50-some map streak, and then they lost. Then they went on like a 40-some map streak. So Atlanta is not dropping very many respawns, and I think that they're probably going to win both of their matchups this weekend. So Atlanta is absolutely 1. Even if we're only talking about respawn game types here, they're going to win every match they play just because they're so dominant at hardpoint and domination. We're not even talking about Search and Destroy. Simp was extremely good at Search and Destroy in Black Ops 2, so we're not even talking about that. Just based off of their respawn game types, they're going to be number 1. They should be number 1. They're in the right spot. After that, 2 and 3, I don't really know. And if we're talking about this, so there was an interview with Simp, and he said he's not really sure about where Empire falls at the exact moment just because they haven't scrimmed. And the reason why those two teams haven't scrimmed is because they play each other in Minnesota. So I don't know who's been avoiding who, but they definitely haven't been playing each other just so that they can set that up as they get closer to Minnesota. They don't want to give away what they're doing as they go into that event. So I understand that. But what we have seen is we have seen Atlanta and we have seen Chicago scrim. Just about, I don't know, a week and a half ago, somewhere in there, I uploaded a video to my channel. I'll put a link on screen right now. But essentially, it was the Scump versus Simp Battle Titans. So that matchup has gotten a lot closer over the last couple weeks than it was before that. I absolutely think that Atlanta is performing at a higher level than Chicago is, but that has gotten really close. Chicago took maps off them, and the ones that they lost were like in the 250 to 220 range. So those are getting very close, which means I don't really know. I have nothing to compare Empire to. So I'm going to go ahead, and if I had to rank these, I would put Atlanta at 1, I would put Chicago at 2, and I would put Empire at 3, just based on the fact from what we've seen, Chicago has been really close to Atlanta, and I think that warrants something there. It could very easily be as you see on screen to begin with, but I would just put Chicago at 2, Empire at 3, just because for me personally, you get a little bit of respect for playing people. So if Empire is hiding their cards or whatever, that's fine. That's a great strategy. By all means, do whatever you want. But for me personally, if you go out and you play the best, I think that you deserve a little bit of respect for that. So I would do FaZe, Huntsman, and then Empire just based off what I've seen. After that, I think there are 3 teams that are clearly in the next category. So after 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think, now, again, this order, we'll see how it turns out once everybody plays Search and Destroy, but 4, 5, and 6, I think are Minnesota Rocker, New York Subliners, and Florida Mutineers. So I know Seattle's up there, but every time I see Seattle scrim, they might take a map here or there, but a lot of times, especially when they're playing Chicago, they're getting absolutely demoralized. And then when you see Chicago play Minnesota, a lot of times that's like a 5-2 map split. When you see them play Florida, those maps are really close. So personally, to me, if I'm just seeing how one team matches up against another, I would go Rocker, I would go Subliners, and then Mutineers. That would take us through 6. After that, the next group will go 7, 8, and 9. I'm kind of doing this in groups of 3 here. So the next group, I would definitely put Seattle in that next group. I would actually put London in that next group also, just from their scrims with Chicago. Those maps have also been really contested, so I would put London there. And then I guess at 9, I would put Optic, but I'm not very comfortable with it. So if we're just talking about recent performances, London has played Chicago pretty tough. I've uploaded a couple videos of London over the last couple weeks, and every time I see them scrim, they're right there. So I don't think that this is any disrespect towards London, but the only reason why I'm putting Optic there at number 9 is just based off what they've done in the past. And I know that's the wrong approach, but they have so many pros, they have so many veterans that you just expect them to perform when it comes to the LAN event. But in terms of scrims, I haven't really seen it. So Optic down there at 9, that's where I would put them personally. We'll see. They could even be lower. The next group after that, absolutely, we finally saw a Toronto Ultra scrim the other day against Chicago, and they played really well. So I think that Toronto is definitely there at 10, and they could probably be higher. So just going into this weekend, Toronto plays 2 teams that I would put above them. First, they're going to play Seattle on Saturday, so we'll see if they belong in that next, that higher echelon. And then they're going to play Minnesota, so they play the home team. So I don't know. That's going to tell us if Toronto's for real or if those scrims against Chicago aren't going to really be the norm. Maybe they just had a good day. So after this weekend, we'll be able to tell where exactly Toronto stands, and we'll be able to place them appropriately. And then after that, I would have to put the Gorillas next just because of their star power. And then Paris at the bottom at 12. And again, we haven't seen anything from them. So listen, as we go into this weekend, Paris is going to play Optic, and they're going to play London. So based on those performances, Paris could go up to the 6th spot, the 7th spot. They could easily be placed above those 2 teams. We'll just have to see how it shakes out. So as we head into the weekend there, I just want to go ahead and just throw out my power rankings. We'll see what happens. Again, these are no way, shape, or form set into stone. They are not etched into concrete here. None of these teams have played Search and Destroy. We'll see how people fare against other people. It all comes down. And then after this weekend, we'll be able to get a little bit of a better idea in terms of how teams stack up to others, and we'll be able to judge how teams play at Search and Destroy. So let me know down in the comments below. Everything that's down there, I read, I respond to. So let me know what your preseason ranks are. I'm very interested to see how they might change after this weekend. Next week, I'm going to do an updated list. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that updated list after this Minnesota LAN. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This weekend, I'm putting like 15 or 20 videos on my channel. I'm going to break down everything that we see this weekend. So I am your headquarters for the Minnesota LAN event this weekend. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hammer that like button before you head on your way. And with that, guys, thank you so much for checking out another video. I'll catch you in the next one.